Hi, this is Steve, K8BZ. In this video I'm going to demonstrate how to do a Winlink peer-to-peer session, also known as a P2P session. We'll show you some of the differences between a peer-to-peer session versus a Winlink session with a regular RMS station. We'll also show you the differences when you do messages addressed to a group address. They are handled differently depending on whether they're created as a Winlink message or a peer-to-peer message. So we'll go over some of that information. We're also going to do a Winlink peer-to-peer session transferring a fairly large image file to show you the speeds that can be attained using HF VARA. Now these are registered versions of HF VARA that we're going to be using on both ends of this peer-to-peer session link. So hopefully this will answer some questions that you may have about how to do a peer-to-peer session and the differences between a peer-to-peer session and a Winlink session. Some of the important things to remember, first important thing to remember is in a peer-to-peer session you're connecting to one station. You can only send messages addressed to that station, and you can only receive messages from that station that are addressed to you. As opposed to connecting to a Winlink RMS station, you can send messages to anyone registered as a Winlink user and to email addresses that will be transferred to the regular internet email services. So we'll explain that and describe it in the video as we progress through the video. So thanks for watching, and if you have any questions you can comment below or feel free to email me at k8bz@arrl.net. So keep watching and we'll show you what we can. Thank you. We'll get started by opening Winlink RMS Express. And the first thing we're going to do is create our message. Now this works in a very similar way you create any message. We're going to create two different messages here. We're going to do a ICS 213 message form. So we're going to select the template here from the menu bar. We also have some saved, but I won't bother showing you that right now. We're just going to click Select Template. We're going to expand the standard templates. And we're going to go down to ICS USA forms and select the ICS 213 TXT. Now that actually opens in a browser. That browser opened in another display that I have, so I'll drag it over to this display so it can record. Let me resize that a little bit so we can see the form here. And here you just fill it in. This is just going to be a demonstration. So I'm just going to put demo, and this is going to the County Emergency Coordinator. ECRO, his name is Ted, so it's K8RO. And we'll try to spell his name correctly. And it's from K8BZ. Subject is test, demo. Now if you right click on the date and time fields, it's just going to take the current date and time off your computer system clock. If you click OK on the window that pops up, it's going to fill those with the date and time from your PC clock. And we're just going to keep this basic. Test message or demo. And then approved by okay. Now when you submit, click submit, it's going to pop a little window up here that says to complete your form submission, click OK, close the open browser window, and you'll return to the new message window so you can post the message to the outbox. So we clicked OK. I'm going to minimize the browser now, and you'll see the text version of that message here. Now it's still not complete. This is where you will make a mistake, and everyone does it. I did it many times myself, and I still do it occasionally. In a Winlink peer-to-peer session, you must tell it what type of message you're sending, and it must be a peer-to-peer message. You can only send peer-to-peer messages in a session you open as a Winlink peer-to-peer session. And it won't send any regular RMS Winlink messages in a peer-to-peer session, and it won't send any peer-to-peer messages in a regular Winlink session with an RMS station. So in all your peer-to-peer sessions, make sure you, in this pick box, make sure this says send as peer-to-peer message. Now over here, you just put the call sign of the station, whoops, you're sending it to, K8RO, and when you tab, it makes it all uppercase. And the rest is all pre-filled. This is the data that's being sent. The form actually resides in the station that the message is being sent to. So they're going to take that form in an HTML format, and they're just going to populate that form with the data here in this message. So now we can post this to the outbox. You'll see now here in our outbox, we have one message. That's the message we just created. Now let's look at the attachment here. The attachment is actually the message itself in the form, so you can open that also. Now let's create a second message to the same station. So we're going to go back here to message, create another new message, and this one's just going to be a text message. This is going to K8RO. Subject is going to be image file attachment. Test image file is attached. And then, in order to attach this image file, you click the attach button here and you add an attachment, and then you browse to the location of the attachment. Now this attachment's on the desktop, and this is the attachment. Now I'm going to open it quickly here just so you can see what the attachment is. I'm going to open it in, let's just open it in this program I have here. And this is all it is. It's just a screenshot that I clipped, and we're going to send this as a file attachment to K8RO. Now we'll actually also look at the properties. So you can see this this file is 84K is the size of the file. Size on disk, the size of the file is 83.5K. So that's not a huge file, but that's a pretty large file to be sending by HF in a data mode. So basically now we're going to go back and double click it. It will put it on this list of attachments that we want to make, and when we're done we just click finish, and now you'll see in this window it has the name of that file. So we again have to make sure this is, by default it's going to be a Winlink message. We have to change it to a peer-to-peer message and post it to the outbox. So now we have two files in our outbox, two messages in our outbox rather. If you double click on the list of the message, it'll open that message as in its text version. Let me close that again. If you click on the paperclip, it'll open that message in the attachment version, and again that's in another screen. We'll drag it over here to this display so you can see it, and that's just the image file attachment in this particular message. So we'll go up here and double click on this message. This opens, whoops, that moved that to the top. Here's the image file message. Here's the text version of that message. So we'll close that, and we will open the 213 here so you can see the 213 message. Okay, so these are all set to go. So now we're going to open a Winlink peer-to-peer session. Let me open a session here. Now this pick list here, let me close this again and back up a little bit. This pick list is where you select the type of session you want to open. We actually want to open a Winlink peer-to-peer session using HF VARA. So we're going to go down here to HF VARA HF P2P. That's the type of session we want to open. And if you click Open Session, it will open that particular type of session. Remember, these are both peer-to-peer messages. You cannot send a peer-to-peer message in a regular Winlink session with a Winlink RMS station. Now, I have some frequencies saved here for our session. So all I have to do is, and there's only one, I'm just going to select that from the pick list. If you have the rig interface functioning, which I think most Winlink users do, it will automatically set your rig on the correct band and mode. Now let me open the VARA HF waterfall display. Now you may want to verify that you're actually using, let me close that, up here in settings, the VARA TNC setup. We'll want to pick the bandwidth that you want to use. The other station I know is set to 2300 hertz bandwidth, so we want to make sure we're set to that also. At the same time, you want to make sure that your receiver bandwidth in your radio is also at least 2300. Now I'm going to expand the camera view here. Hopefully it's clear enough, but you'll see right here, this is the receiver bandwidth. Again, I'm gonna just switch things around here. Let me switch this back. You'll see when I switched back to a peer-to-peer session, or I'm sorry, to a Winlink session, it changed the frequency, and I'll switch back to peer-to-peer. It's automatically going to put the rig on the correct peer-to-peer frequency, and you want to make sure the bandwidth here is also at least 2300. In this particular case, the bandwidth is set to 2400, so we're safe there. One of the ways you can tell if you have the correct bandwidth set on your receiver is by looking at the waterfall display. You'll see some very light red lines down the display on the right and left of the waterfall. That's the bandwidth in the waterfall that needs to be displayed. If I change my receiver bandwidth filter to 500, you'll see the waterfall does not fill in that space between those two red bars. So you want to make sure that your receiver is capable of receiving across the bandwidth that's necessary for the bandwidth of the mode you're going to be using. Okay, I'm going to try connecting to K8EO. That was over almost 5,000 bits per second. Now it's sending the large file. We'll see how long this one takes. Still almost 5,000 bits per second. Down to 4. little over 4 minutes, 4 minutes and 1 second to send that message with the large file attachment. That completed the session. Now we did receive one message from Ted. We can open the text version here, but even better than that, we will open the form message by clicking the paperclip icon, and that opens the form. And he's sending a little information here. Have a new set of UHF duplexers I'll be installing on the Gladwin UHF repeater, and some further information. Now, even though this has a reply window, you cannot reply directly on this form. If you click on it, it'll give you some instructions on how to do that. But I'll just explain it. I'm going to minimize this form. If you open the text version of the message and then click reply, then it gives you the message in the form, and now the reply window is active. So we can type our reply here. Replied by K8BZ. And he's actually connected to me right now. I'm going to minimize this just for a minute and move it out of the way. Yeah, I have too many windows in the way. Let me finish this. And we'll click in the date and time field, and we'll just insert the current date and time. We'll submit it. Minimize the browser, make sure this is a Winlink peer-to-peer message, post it to the outbox, and Ted already completed the additional message he was sending, demo test. He's probably just replying. Got it, thanks Ted. Just saying he got the message. So we'll minimize the browser. And we still have one message in our outbox to Ted. It is a peer-to-peer message. You can tell because, whoops, why not open that. The recipient is going to have the call sign and in parentheses P2P if it's a peer-to-peer message. So we'll do one more quick session here to send the reply to his 213 form. And this should go in about one transmission period once it actually starts sending the message. Sending. Oh, it's going to take more than one. It took 2. It ramped up to almost 4,000 bits per second. And that's going to wrap up the session. A group address would be like a bulk email that you want to send to an identical email to more than one person. You can do the same thing in Winlink. And it will work whether it's a Winlink session with an RMS station or if it's a peer-to-peer session with individual stations. And let's kind of show you how that works. So we're going to go to Settings, down to Group Addresses. Now I already have one group in here, but we're going to create a new group. Add a group, and we're just going to call this Test Group. And then in the next window, you put in the call signs of all of the stations that you want in this group address. So we're going to do K8EO. Now you can either separate them with a semicolon or a space. We'll just use a space. K8RO, W8COP, and KE8DON. And we will save these. And now you see I have two groups here. One is P2P, that has a number of call signs in it. I think there are about 19. And the other one we just created is test group with 4 call signs. So we're going to save and close that. Now if I create a message, a new message, and we'll just do a test simple message here, it's going to be to the group of test group. Subject is example message. Okay, now this is going to be a Winlink message, not a peer-to-peer message. So we're going to post this one to our outbox. Right now we have no messages in our outbox, so let's post this to our outbox. Now let's look at the outbox. We only have one message in our outbox. It's a Winlink message, and where I put in the name of the group, because it's a Winlink message, it's going to put each individual call sign in the addressee field to each of those individual call signs that you see here. Now that's different than the way it works with a peer-to-peer message. With a Winlink message, you can address a single message to multiple recipients. It only creates one message. When you send that message to an RMS station, that message then becomes available in the Winlink system to each of the call signs that it's addressed to. Now let's do this again, doing exactly the same thing, but we're going to make it a peer-to-peer message. We're going to create a new message. We're going to create a peer-to-peer message. We're here where it says send as, and in the pick list we're going to select peer-to-peer message. And we're going to address this to the same group, test group, subject, example message, example message. Now we're going to post this one to the outbox. Now as you can see, the outbox over here only has one message. That's the Winlink message that we just created a minute ago to the group with 4 call signs. Now we're going to create a peer-to-peer message that's exactly the same subject, exactly the same text of the message, and we're going to post this to the outbox. So the outbox now has 5. You can see here what it did. It created an individual message for each of the call signs in that group. Now we only had to make one message, but it created 4 individual messages. The reason it does that is that in a peer-to-peer session, you can't send a message to anyone other than who you're connected to. Now you can create the message and you can put them all in your outbox as a peer-to-peer message, but it will create an individual message. So the only way these messages will all be sent is if we do a separate peer-to-peer session with each of the stations that these messages are addressed to. You'll see here in the recipient column, I'm going to expand that a little bit. This was the Winlink message. You can tell because it's only addressed to one station and it doesn't have P2P in parentheses. All of these others are individual stations with parentheses P2P after the call sign that shows you that these are peer-to-peer messages and not Winlink messages. So that's how you can tell the difference. That's how it group messages that are addressed to a group in a peer-to-peer session will create an individual message for each of the recipients. Not so with a Winlink message. It'll only create one message that's addressed to everyone in the group in that single message. I hope you found this video helpful. Please feel free to leave any comments below, or if you have any questions, you can also email me at k8bz@arrl.net. Thanks for watching.